Hello everybody, it's Lazel here with another video. It's been quite a while since I have talked about the Colossus, so today I want to take the time and show you two Colossi builds that I always switch in between depending on the events, so you can get an idea of how to set it up for yourselves depending on your troop combination, but what the focus for different events are. So I will quickly reset my Colossus and do all of that with you. When it comes to setting up your Colossus, you always need to find out for yourself how far you can get depending on the Colossus skills. So what is very important to know is that the first skill on level 50 is always player versus player oriented, because you're reducing or increasing your damage against or from angels. The level 70 skill is always PvP, so player versus player and player versus environment oriented. That can also help you out in events like the Undead King or in the Evil Tyrant, the Fiend Trial, and so on and so on. The level 90 and level 110 skill are always player versus player oriented, and the last one is also for player versus player and player versus environment. So you need to know for yourself how many Colossi can I unlock. Can I go for one or also two? And then you need to know for yourself, okay, can I get until level 90? Can I get both up to level 70? And so on and so on. This is something that you have to find out for yourself. What I know about my Colossi is that I can bring one up to level 90 and one up to level 70. So from our event routine, I know that the week always starts with the Evil Tyrant. It is good for me to know that, especially on Monday and on some of the following days, like on Tuesday we have the Anubis Tower event, and on Wednesday we have the Undead King. So those are 3 days in a row where we are very player versus environment oriented. Especially during these days, it is very helpful for me to focus level 70 on both of my Colossi to get the additional health and to get the additional attack bonus. What I also know for my player versus environment oriented Colossi is that I don't have any priority for the level 90 skill, because it only helps me when I play against other players. This is why my player versus environment Colossus, or my Colossi, look as followed. I have done this already several times and I always make a screenshot of my different Colossi, so I always know until which level I can get and don't always have to check several times. You can see that I'm upgrading a lot into the base oriented skills, because this stuff here, infantry attack, HP and defense, helps me out during the just so named events. Things as the infantry takes less damage from a certain unit type are things that I don't focus, just because of the fact I don't really need them for the events in the beginning of the week. So I know that I can go for one level 90 Colossus and one level 70 Colossus, but as I just said, for my player versus environment focused Colossi, I only go up to level 70 and try to spread my Titan crystals as good as possible in the first 3 stats, which are the base stats for my units. On my backline Colossus, this is a bit different. Here for the frontline Colossus, you can see that I put a lot of focus on the infantry HP, for example, and I balance out the infantry attack and the infantry defense, because I personally haven't found any big advantage if you go for more infantry defense than attack. I think it kind of balances itself out, but infantry HP is something that I would always prioritize. When we come to the Mage Colossus, it is a bit different, because what we want in our backline is as much damage as possible. So what I can recommend is to always check for yourself how far can you take up the attack of your backline unit. I am lucky enough to have enough Titan crystals that I can max out my backline attack, and for my player versus environment Colossus, I will now only separate the last remaining Titan crystals to bring the base stats on a good level and then divide the rest into my damage skills for my Mage Colossus just to bring it up to level 70. So now we have both Colossus skills unlocked that increase the attack and the HP of all of my units. Both Colossi are now level 70 and I know that I can play especially with these Colossi in the beginning of the week for all of the events as I just named them. So, but now we are also having events like Elite War, like Realm Invasion, Void War, Battle Frenzy and all of that stuff, where we also face other kingdoms. And for these events I want to show you the Colossus that I built during these events because it is different. So we will start off with the Infantry Colossus again, and our priority is now on all of the damage reduction focused aspects of the Colossus. I think because I'm mostly facing mage players that I always focus the infantry takes less damage from mages, so I always make sure to bring this one up to a very high level, followed by the reduced damage from archers, also on a high level but not as high as the mage damage reduction. The infantry takes less damage from cavalry is something that also has a nice impact, especially with all of the cavalry players out there, but cavalry is still the frontline unit and it always depends on the event that you are playing. For example, in the Star Runes, where you face very high counts of cavalry players that also send a high amount of cavalry to a fight, it makes sense to upgrade this skill to a higher level. But let's say, for example, if we are in Void War, it makes sense to focus the reductions from the backline units. So this is something that I would bring up to level 12 from my current build. The base stats for infantry or for your frontline in general is still something that I bring up to a high level, but as you can see, it ain't the maxed or the highest skill of them all anymore. The infantry attack is something that falls behind. I bring it also to a high level to make sure that I reach level 90 to get the next skill, which is player versus player oriented. But I really see the infantry attack and the frontline takes less damage from a certain unit type, mostly the frontline focus one, just as fillers to reach the next milestone of Colossus level. When we look into the backline focused Colossus, I like to build different now too. As you remember from my player versus environment Colossus, it was, or the mage attack was completely maxed out. In this one, I will bring it up to level 15, the mage HP to level 7, the mage defense also to level 7, and mage damage increased. Infantry or against cavalry are the stats that will have the highest level. I like to balance them out with my remaining Titan crystals, as you can see, and I will bring it up to 17 here too. So this is how I would build it. And the last skill, the mage damage increased on archers, is something that I rarely see have any big effect. So I like to bring this up to level 7 just to have it as a filler to reach level 70. And here you can see my example build for my backline Colossus. It was also focused on getting the level 70 skill, just because of the fact I know that I still cannot get to level 90 Colossi. It would be interesting how I would build it then, but I know for a fact that I don't have enough Titan crystals yet. And with my remaining Titan crystals, I will max out some skill that I see. I think infantry takes less damage from cavalry, will get another level, and then that would be actually it. So my focus is to balance out my player versus player Colossus on the damage relevant facts, but also things like mage attack or infantry HP and defense, so the main base stats that you want for your certain unit types, also on a high level, but the focus always relies on the damage reduction from a certain unit type or the damage increased against another unit type. And overall, you need to go for several tries just to see for yourself how can you balance your Titan crystals and your ancient relics to get the best level combination of Colossus skills. So I know that I will get my level 90 skill from the infantry, which is great, and I will get my level 70 Colossus skill from the mages, which is also a nice one. So guys, this is actually how I built my PvP and my player versus environment Colossus. I hope that this one helped you out, and then I would say see you in the next one. Goodbye guys.